Welcome to Pop Culture Retro, which was recently voted the 15th best podcast by the residents of the Golden Years Retirement Community in Boca Raton, Florida. Each show, we'll revisit some of your favorite pop culture memories with insider and outsider perspectives. Now, please help me welcome your hosts, Ike Eisenmann and Jonathan Rosen.
Hello, and welcome to another edition of Pop Culture Retro. I'm one of your hosts, Jonathan Rosen, along with Ike Eisenmann. And today we are thrilled to welcome the star of some of the most beloved and fun films of all time, with over 250 credits, including such classics as E.T. the Extra-Terrestrial, The Howling, Cujo, The Hills Have Eyes, and Critters. She's a highly sought-after speaker, as well as a multi-published author, with her newest books being Born, Giving Birth to a New You, and BuppaLaPaloo and the I Love Me's. Please help us welcome one of the original Scream Queens, Dee Wallace. Dee, thanks so much for joining us today.
Yeah. You're welcome.
So to start with, as I mentioned, you're a multi-published author with not one, but two new releases out right now. Let's start with Born, Giving Birth to a New You. Can you tell us a little bit about it and what the impetus was for writing it?
Yeah, well, actually, looking back, E.T. was kind of the beginning of all of my healing work. I'm a clairaudient channel. Mm-hmm. I teach people how to create their lives consciously. There is a definite formula, and once you know the formula, you can create any subject in your life that you want. So that's what I write about in Born. I give you the whole, it's easy. Guys, it's so easy when you know how to do it. That's why I've done 12 films already this year.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Incredible.
And BuppaLaPaloo is the children's book.
Well, I was going to ask you about BuppaLaPaloo. I want to finish with Born first before we get to that one. So I want to know a little bit what kind of things will go into that book. You know, what kind of things do we learn about when we read Born?
Well, for example, most people think they know what they want, but they don't really know what they want. They can't state what they want. When I go out and speak, I can have somebody come up on stage with me and I'll go, okay, what do you want to work on? Well, I don't want to worry about so much about money. Good. What do you want to work on? Well, I don't want to be afraid about not having money. Good. What do you want? Well, you know, I don't want to always think that I'm not going to have it. This can go on for 20 minutes until they get so pissed off at me. They go, God, I want more money. And I went, good. That's the first time you told me what you wanted, because we are trained from the time we're little to say what we don't want, thinking that's going to get us what we want. And it never will. Right. Your brain thinks in pictures. And my work is a big combination of spirituality and brain science, both of which, by the way, are saying the same thing. So your brain thinks in pictures. And if you say, I don't want to be sick, what does your brain see? You getting sick. You tell a little 3-year-old, don't touch that TV, and he'll go right over there and smile and touch that TV because his brain sees him doing it. The universe works the same way. The universe works the same way as our brain does. So that's one of the big things I talk about in Born. One of them, I think the most valuable things is called the 3 pillars. How I see myself, how I see the world, and how I see the world seeing me. Those 3 things have to be in alignment for massive creation to happen. So, for example, I see myself as an actress, but if I look out in the world and go, oh my God, there's no place out there for me. You know, I'm just a girl from Kansas. And I'm never going to draw it to me. Or if I go, yeah, I see the possibilities out there, but nobody's going to see me. They don't even know me. All those things have to be in alignment together. And when they are, literally things get delivered to you like ET, which I didn't even audition for.
Well, we would ask about that, of course, but you just hit upon something that we were curious about, your spirituality. I mean, you're a very spiritual person, and I've read that, you talked about that we transmit messages to the universe. So is that what you meant by that other statement? What do you mean by that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're electrical beings. They measure our hearts through electrocardiograms, our brains through electroencephalograms. So every thought, every feeling we have has an electrical signal. It shoots out into the universe, and the universe is electromagnetic. So here's our signal, positive or negative. The universe doesn't judge. And the universe goes, where's a match? Where's a match? Boom, there's a match. And that signal is sent back to us, which creates the reality of our lives that we see, which creates more of our belief systems. And as you believe, that's the reality you're going to live. Science says that, the good book says that.
Well, how does this energy affect our creativity, do you think?
Well, you have to know what you want to create, don't you? And then you have to see a world where you can create it. And you have to look out there and see the possibility of all the people that want to help you bring that creation to life, right? Okay. So when I was in Kansas, never been out of Kansas in my life, taught a year of high school. I said, I'm going to go to New York and be an actress. Everybody went, are you freaking kidding? Nobody knows you, Dee. You don't know anybody. Why do you think you can go to New York and be an actress? But you see, I was naive, and I'm a big believer in naivete, because when you're naive, you don't go to the fear. You only go to the hope, which is be as a little child to enter into the kingdom. And what's the kingdom? Freedom, our freedom of creativity and getting what we want. And that's the next thing, how many of us were ever taught when we were little, you ask for anything you want, honey. You ask for anything you want because you can have it. Like zero, nobody is taught that. Sit down, shut up. It's not nice to ask for what you want. We don't like it if you're too needy. We don't like it if you speak up too much. I mean, that's pretty much what we're all taught. And that sense of the Father's being passed down over and over and over and over and over again.
Right. Well, also you have a lot of things about love playing a central role in ideas in your books, right? So why is it important for love, to help us achieve what we want?
Well, when we think of love, most of us, we think of that namby-pamby feeling that we get for somebody, right? So we look at love as either getting love or giving love. But most of us don't look at love as being love, being the frequency of love. And according to my channel, when you love what you want to create, that is the most powerful force of creation you have to work with. So are we taught to love money? Oh my God, you can't love money. Money's the root of all evil and blah, 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 and all that horseshit, right? So if you have to love what you want and you've been taught from very little age that you can't love and you shouldn't love money, and God won't love you if you love money, and the rich people aren't godly, and all that BS that we're all handed, then how are you going to love money enough to attract it to you? Right? Yeah. Sickness. If you're sick, you don't want to fix being sick. you want to focus on creating this state of health and wellness, because that's what your brain sees. If you're trying to fix your body or fix your health, your brain sees the sickness.
Interesting. Your website, I was looking through your website. You have so much great information on there, and you could sign up for webinars with teaching a lot of stuff in private sessions.
Yep.
Can you tell us a little bit about those, and what are some of your favorite stories in helping your clients achieve what they wanted?
Oh gosh, well, there's a lot of them in Born that I bring forward. My sessions are half-hour sessions. My specialty is to be able to look into a person's energy and tell them where their blocks are. And I can tell them who they started with and pretty much what age they started at. Once you know what your blocks are and you know how energy works, then you can redirect your brain and your energy to focus on an entirely new belief. And again, as you believe, it's delivered to you. So most of what people don't understand, that our belief systems are pretty much locked into our brains by 8 years old. From conception to 8, whatever you were taught, whatever you were modeled in front of you by your parents, your grandparents, your religion, your schools, a child's brain goes, okay, that's the way it is. That's the way the world works. And so they build the rest of their life on those belief systems. And then they get to 30 and wonder why they can't love money and make more money. I mean, when I hit ET and was catapulted into the world's eye and made some substantial money, I pulled way back because I could hear my grandmother going, they're the rich people, we're the good people. And I could hear my aunt going, Deanna Bowers, don't you ever say you're good. And if somebody else says you're good, you say, no, I'm not. That was the godly way to be. And that's a lot of the way we were raised, guys. And it was done with love, and it was done because they truly believed also that that was the truth of life. So I had to go back and really break down, rework, let go, and reestablish my entire belief system around being successful.
Well, I just wanted to know, now which you mentioned, I'm a children's book author myself, so I did want to ask about the BuppaLaPaloo and I hope I'm pronouncing that right, and the I Love
BuppaLaPaloo, yep.
BuppaLaPaloo, that's it. Okay, now I got it. BuppaLaPaloo. So, can you tell us about that?
I had a hard time too. I wanted to know exactly how to say it because it's a lovely title.
Yes.
You know what's funny, guys, is adults have such a problem with it, and kids just say it like that. BuppaLaPaloo, BuppaLaPaloo, because it's, we go into our minds and go, all right, how am I going to correctly pronounce this? And kids just have fun with it, right? All right, so your question.
Well, tell us about that book. I want to hear a little bit about that.
Well, BuppaLaPaloo, we just talked about a child's brain being locked in by the age of 8. BuppaLaPaloo is the first in a series of books that are going to teach children at a very early age the principles of how to create their life in a powerful, joyful way. And God, don't we wish we'd had that?
Mm.
So the first book is teaching the little bear is teaching the boy, you know, you're listening to everybody else. Who do you want to be? How do you want to define yourself? We don't use those words, but that's what it's about. Because how we define ourselves is a direction to energy. And let me just speak to that for a minute, because if you don't understand that, you don't really understand the power you have to create your own life. So everything's energy. We learned that in 5th grade. There is no positive energy. There's no negative energy. Energy is neutral. And everything is energy. Energy must be directed, or it will take its direction from the news, from, God forbid, social media, from religion, from your childhood fears, or limiting beliefs that you were taught. So most people, I mean, we're directing energy every moment that we're alive, but most of us aren't doing it consciously. So the more you direct your energy toward exactly the positive of what you want, the more you manifest with love.
Yeah, of course, of course. Now, you had been in so many movies by the time you decided to write. Had that desire always been there?
Yeah, I mean, this is my 6th book.
Right.
Bright Light came out some years ago. Conscious Creation was my first channeled book. So, you know, I was an English major. So writing for me has been a part of my life, all my life. But the healing work is my passion in my writing. You know, when you get the answers and you have the answers and you experience the success of everything, you know, you got to share it, guys. It's out of integrity not to share it.
You know, I got to tell my mom that I met another English major today, that I'm not the only one.
Not the only one out there, huh?
Right.
Yeah, I taught a year of high school, theater and English.
Wow. Same. I did the same, actually. I taught high school English as well for a time. So there. Now, we'd like to ask about some of the roles in your career. And with you, it's like, where do you even start? You've been in so many classics. But we want to start that you're a part in a film that was always listed on the funniest movies of all time, 10 by Blake Edwards. And what a cast. Besides you, there was Dudley Moore, Julie Andrews, Robert Webber, and Bo Derek. What are some of your memories of that film? And how much fun
Oh
was it
my
to make?
God. I so love you for asking about 10. Nobody ever asked about 10.
Such a great film.
Oh, it's a great film. It was literally the beginning of my big career. And Lynn Stallmaster, who was the biggest casting director in LA at the time, saw me do a guest star on Lou Grant, where I played a hooker. And the next day was the last day of casting, and Blake didn't like any of the girls from Mary Lewis. So Lynn called and said, could she get the audition together by this afternoon? Well, fortunately, I have a technique that loves to do off the cuff stuff. So I went over, I went up in the middle of the scene, and Blake said, that's okay, honey, just start over. Went up in exactly the same place, and I put my hand out like this, and I said, line. And Lynn gave me the line, and I picked it up, and before I got to the car, they called and booked me.
Wow.
And they took all of us to Las Hadas, Mexico. I thought I died and gone to heaven. all of the people that they originally hired for the lesser supporting roles, not, you know, Dudley, of course, or Bo or any of those guys. And one by one, I saw them fired and replaced. Wow. And I called my agent and I said, yeah, I don't think I'm going to end up being in this film, but I'm having a great vacation. But I did. And working with Dudley was just bliss. All I did was try and keep up with Dudley, quite frankly. You never knew where he was going to go. I remember when we finished the big scene in bed and Blake was over on the adjoining sound stage and nobody spoke until Blake spoke after a take. And there was this pause. And of course he had written and produced the film also. And there was this big pause and he said, well, I don't know who the hell wrote it, but we're sure going to print that one. Because we were just, you know, and Dudley and I and a lot of the crew danced on many tabletops in Mexico when we were there. But I remember, oh, this is a great story. The first day on the set, they took us all down to the beach. And Blake came over to me and said, Dee, I just want to welcome you. I want to know, is everything okay? I said, oh, Mr. Edwards, my room is so beautiful. It's so beautiful. I'm so appreciative. But I don't see my trailer. I see Dudley's trailer and I was so fucking naive, you guys. And I see Bo's trailer and he didn't miss a beat. He turned to Tony Adams, his producer. He said, where's her trailer? And Tony went, it's on its way. It's on its way, Blake. It's on its way. And Blake looked at Tony and said, she'll go in with Bo until it gets here.
Ooh.
So Tony walked me over to Bo's trailer and explained the situation. And Bo said, absolutely, Dee, come on in. Bo was the sweetest.
That's great.
Yeah, her husband, not so much. So, yeah, but I, you know, and of course my agents hadn't even negotiated a dressing room for me.
Wow.
No, but that's fantastic, man. You when you kind of give us an idea what Blake was like, but what was he like as a director, working directly with him as
you know, he was a great director as long as you knew your shit. You better not walk on that set without knowing your lines. You know, and I remember one time when Bo wasn't quite as prepared as whoa, I would not have wanted to been her. I would not have wanted to be on that set. And John, he threw John off the set.
Oh, wow.
Well, John just wanted to direct, you know? So, but Blake came over and sat down to me before we started doing the bed scene. And it was the first day on the set, and he came over and he said, so Dee, I was wondering, what do you think about doing this nude? Well, my heart dropped to my crotch, literally, but I kept it together and I said, well, Mr. Edwards, I don't think it's right for the part. I mean, he hasn't been able to get it up, and I don't think she would flaunt it in front of him. And everybody else in the movie is nude. And, well, if you can guarantee me 2 more films, I'll try. I swear to God, that's exactly what I said. And he looked at me and he went, okay, honey, just thought I'd ask. See, he knew it would throw me off balance so much that just anything could happen. And he was right. He was so right. And then the scene we did in the bathroom, I came back 3 months later because he wanted to take me into the bathroom. Because we initially, you just heard my voice. So that all happened like 3 months later. And, you know, and when I looked at the film, I went, oh, I am naked from the back. I guess he sort of kind of got what he wanted. And all the time I'm thinking, oh my God, my grandmother in Kansas is gonna shit her pants, right? Oh my God, my family in Kansas. But they were fine. They were just fine.
Well, speaking of great directors, you also worked with Joe Dante on The Howling. I mean,
Yep.
what was that like? What are some of your memories from there?
Oh my God. How can you not love Joe?
Yeah.
He's so much fun and he's such a genius, and just, you know, I mean, we had $1 million to do that damn movie, you guys. And, you know, one night the generator broke. It was the last night we had the barn. So he and, oh my gosh, who was the DP? John Hora. And he and John got together and we all pulled our cars up and turned our headlights on. And that's how we lit that scene, which is amazing. It looked so eerie and so weird, you know, but I mean, we would just come up with things sometimes in the moment. Joe just, you know, he paid for all the films and the cartoons. The studio wouldn't opt for the money. Joe paid for all of those, which raises the film up considerably. I had it in my contract that there would not be any nudity other than the scene with my husband, thank you very much, who was my fiance at the time. So I walked in to the barn one night and I'm like all in the scene already. And I look up and there's 4 naked girls leaning over. And I went to Joe and I said, no, I have it in my contract that there's no more nudity. He said, yeah, I know, Dee, but everybody in Europe wants it. I said, no, it's going to make it a B film. No. So they called Dan Blatt, our producer. This was 3 a.m. in the morning. Dan Blatt gets in his car. I'll never forget his little sports car, vroom, and he pulls up and he gets out of his car and he walks in and he looks at him and he says, she's right. It's stupid. Put some clothes on her. He gets back in the car and takes off. Oh, I wanted to kiss him forever for that. Awesome. I mean, Joe was doing what the studio, you know, told him to do. But, oh, I just, you know, when Dan Blatt called me for Cujo, first of all, who wouldn't in their right mind want to do that tour de force role? But to work with Dan again, I would have done anything.
Well, you had previously been in The Hills Have Eyes, and what is it about the horror genre that appeals to you?
I didn't go looking for it. The first film I did was a religious film, which kind of sums up my whole life. Horror, God, horror, God. It does. When The Hills Have Eyes came along, I went, I have a lead in a movie. I didn't care what the hell kind of movie it was, right? I had one of the leads in a movie. And then I'm blessed with a really full emotional life, probably from all the trauma in my childhood. And I just realized that I really enjoyed being able to use all my emotional life in films like horror films. I mean, I do everything, guys. I've got a romantic comedy coming out. I've got a family film coming out. I've got a hysterical limited series that was actually just announced in the press called A Deeper Look.
Oh, wow.
That I'm, guess what I play? A psychic. Jason, who directed the last Borat, is the director on it. So loved working with him. What a gentle, nice person. And so I do everything. I want a good part, and I won't do slasher violent. Now people go, well, wait a minute, you did Halloween. Halloween's a monster movie to me, but I just turned down a film for friends of mine, but it was so violent. And so I just feel responsible about putting out more violence. Now, what's interesting is you can Google positive effects from watching horror films. It'll blow your mind off. It will. How much positive things happen within our bodies and how it helps us deal with the traumas and the fears in our lives. That's why every Disney picture has an evil character, because the kid can sit in a safe environment like we sit in a theater, right? And practice handling our fear.
Sure. Absolutely. No, I agree with that. I write scary books for kids, so I'm a big believer in the positivity of horror, being introduced to children, actually. So, but this past weekend was the 40th anniversary of E.T.
I know.
So it's amazing to me. I remember seeing it in the theater vividly. It's always listed as one of the greatest films of all time. What do you think has contributed to its longevity and why it still resonates with so many people?
Because it tells us the truth. It tells us the truth, just like Peter Pan and the Wizard of Oz. You have the power. You've got to keep your heart open. You've got to live in love. You've got to think happy thoughts, and you've got to know where you want to get to. Dorothy wanted to go home. E.T. wanted to go home. Peter Pan wanted to go home. So what does home represent? The truthfulness of who we are. And we are powerful gods. That's who we are. It says right in the good book, these miracles and more will you do also. But you can't do miracles in your life if you keep thinking you're less than.
Well, you've already said you did an audition for ET. So
no, I did not.
therein lies one of those miracles. How did
Yeah.
how did it come about? That's amazing.
Well, I had auditioned years ago before for used cars, but Stephen works very, very far ahead, and he saw that childlike naivete quality in me, which is why my horror films work so well, right? But coupled with that is a really powerful strength that I got from my mom and my grandmother. And he just saw Mary. He saw everything he wanted in Mary. So he just kind of saved me. Lucky me, huh?
Wow.
Amazing.
That's amazing.
Yeah. What was he like working with? What was he like as a director?
You know, he's childlike. He loves what he does so much that it's like playing for him. Obviously, he's a genius. Obviously, he knows exactly what he wants, but he's so open to allowing the magic to happen in every moment.
Amazing. There, I heard that you said that no one expected that success. But what's going through your mind when you see the reception that it starts getting, after it came out? I mean, he just propelled you to another stratosphere?
Well, you're joyful and you're happy and you're going, whoa, I made it. And then I got scared. Like I told you, I got scared that I was becoming one of them, and them was not okay to my family, and them was not okay with God. And so I had to really work through that. And now I'm very pleased to say that I understand that it's not how much money or how much you do or whether you're in a hit film, it's what your consciousness does with it that makes the difference.
Well, on a less spiritual level, did you keep anything from the movie?
Yes. I kept my my cat suit that my Halloween outfit. I sold it a few years ago.
Oh,
at an auction, and
wow.
I want you to know I could still fit in it too.
That's great.
Well,
I have one
thanks for
question.
sharing.
Stephen King has famously said that your portrayal in Cujo was his favorite of all the adaptations there, and he recently said that he thought that you deserved the Oscar for that role. I don't know if you saw that interview, but
he's very, very kind and generous with that. Yes,
that's amazing.
Thanks again, Stephen.
Right, that's incredible. Yeah. And I do want to bring up one film before I let you go that I love. This film is so underrated, The Frighteners.
Yeah,
it's such a great film. And what was some of your memories working on that film with Peter Jackson, Michael J. Fox?
Oh, well, I didn't get to work with Michael much. Oh. I met him on the set. We had one scene where he was across the room. He was very kind to me and very sweet, very loving. That's what I remember about Michael. Peter, I don't even know where to begin. Peter is like a hobbit. He would come to work. It was winter time in New Zealand. He'd come to work in shorts, tennies, and a down jacket with his big old bushy beard. And he was the kindest, sweetest. I would watch him at lunch, and anybody that had a problem, from producer to the best boy, was welcome to come to Peter's table and talk about their problems. Anybody who had a partner who was pregnant and getting ready to deliver. They were given time off and they knew they had a job to come back to. I mean, it was humane. And I'll tell you my personal story that a lot of people don't know. My husband, Chris, my husband of 18 years and the father of my daughter, had a heart attack while I was shooting. And so the company made arrangements for me to fly back to be with him. They did an angioplasty. He was fine. He said, Pupper, his nickname for me, go on, they're holding shooting for you. Go, I'm fine. So I flew back. 4 days later, he got up, a blood clot hit his heart, and he was dead on the floor, and my little girl found him. So I flew back again. This was all within 2 weeks, put on his service, picked up my nanny and my daughter, and flew back to New Zealand. And every time, they said, don't worry about it. We'll take care of it. You can just settle up at the end of the picture. Well, by this time, I'm sure I would have owed more than my salary for all these flights. And I went in to settle up at the end, and the bookkeeper said, oh no, Peter just wants to know this is his gift to you. He's taking care of all. That's who Peter Jackson is. But as a director, again, so open to your ideas. Just his sets were just easy. There was no tension at all.
That's great.
Yeah, it's beautiful experience.
We know you don't have much time. We thank you so much for joining us today with everything. We were looking forward to getting to talk to you, and it's been such a pleasure. Like I said, we have 1,000 questions. We're like, where do you even start with your career? So and you've done so many, and so many great films through the years that we've all loved. And again, we just want to thank you for taking the time to speak with us today.
Oh, it's been my great pleasure. I know, sometimes my mouth runs off and I just get into all the stories and everything. So I hope I didn't take up all the time for you, but
you're welcome.
That's what we hope
for,
and we look forward to that.
it's better. It's been better than the actors that come in and go, yeah, I had a good time on that.
No, we prefer this. Thank you. And like I said, you're welcome back anytime. We have so many thousands more questions that we could ask, and I'm sure we'll hear it in the comments. So, but again, thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Have a great rest of your day.
You too. And this has been Pop Culture Retro. I'm Jonathan Rosen with Ike Eisenmann, and a very special thanks to Dee Wallace. And please subscribe.
Thank you for listening to Pop Culture Retro, where no one was hurt during the making of this podcast.